Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here. We're going to take a look at Unfi here and kind of just see what's going on. I got a lot of requests for this one recently based on our signal that we hit, 125% or something crazy ridiculous recently. And it's definitely taken off again. So after a period of correction, it's increasing. We're going to take a look at that and much more. And if you are new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor. I just hope you can learn something here today. My goal is to help you become a better trader. So I have a trading academy to teach you to become a better trader. I have a signal group, shares every every trade that I take, where you can automatically follow or essentially just learn how to structure your trades. But more important too, an amazing community at your back where we can all learn and grow together. We have weekly roundtable discussions, awesome experience. So I greatly appreciate all of my current subscribers and members. Thank you so much for your support. Looking here at Unfi. Here's kind of what's going on. Well, I think we know what's going on. It's up 30% on the day. It wicked up here to close to the previous resistance level, about 366, and it has since tapered off. Now that makes sense because Bitcoin is up 3 or 4% on the day. So when that happens, this one takes off even harder and faster. So it's exuding similar behavior to Bitcoin, not exact, but definitely similar. Okay. So that being said, this is a good sign here overall. We're happy to see this. We can also see this kind of ascending pattern forming as well with higher lows. Bitcoin has a very similar thing going on, and it's really important to recognize that and understand that, hey, that's really awesome. What's really cool too here is if you can see, this not only this higher low, higher than the previous, right? It's also came down to test this level right here, basically the previous resistance. So if you see this little line here, you can see totally that the price came over to bounce off of that previous resistance, now establish itself as a support. Okay, so really cool stuff there in that sense. So be sure to acknowledge the fact that previous resistances oftentimes work as strong supports, and that's essentially what happened. So it bounced off of that support. All right, so let's take a look at the standard stuff here. We're above the 20 and underneath the 50, tentatively getting rejected by the 50. I'd like to be above the 50 on the SMA here on the daily, preferably at the end of today's close. That'd be a really, really big step in the right direction because we haven't been up above that in a while, and we got rejected here recently at that price point. It's a very standard thing, of course, but generally speaking, being above 50 on the simple moving averages is extremely important, as well as being above 50 on the RSI, which we are back up above. Again, this candlestick hasn't closed yet, but the likelihood of it closing above is quite high, implying that we might actually see some bullish qualities over the next couple of days. Taking a look at the 4 hour, we can also see here as well that we're above all moving averages, which makes perfect sense considering how much of an increase we saw. Getting rejected by 70 on the RSI, previously it went way higher than that, so not to say that it won't continue much higher, but we shouldn't expect it to pump much harder unless Bitcoin does as well. So if Bitcoin takes off, which we're not really expecting, it may actually, it might actually, because if it retests 31,800, there's a strong resistance level there. We get a short squeeze, the price will shoot up. So there's a chance of that happening, causing Unfi to increase as well. But pending, Bitcoin just kind of goes sideways for a little bit, we shouldn't expect any meteoric rise here from Unfi. We actually don't want that because then it would become exhausted and kind of it would be worth less, if that makes sense. So we can continue this push. We just need a little bit of consolidation. So taking a look here at the RSI, we looked at the RSI at MACD here, we can see we had a convergence yesterday, of course, when the price action reversed itself. So pretty much just telling us that the bulls are in control. I think we know that, but generally speaking, there's no bears in sight for the moment. Again, that's just based on the simple fact that Bitcoin is doing well, and this coin tends to pump when Bitcoin does. Okay, so obviously be mindful of that and be ready. And keep in mind too, it's pumping hard because of the fact it's actually not that amazing. It's just the fact that it's so low, the price point, that a small increase leads to a large percentage. So that's another thing I identified recently as well when we took our last trade. We got in right here and it just went straight to the moon. Again, one of my community members took a trade recently as well here too. So, good for you guys and checking that out. But for right now, it does look like we're going to probably see some consolidation. And then we might actually see another increase. But let's see kind of where we're at here. First of all, we have to acknowledge the fact that we are overextended here on the TD sequential. Okay, so we saw a 9 to the downside and then to a 6. Reverses up to a 9 plus overtime. So we got a little reset here, which is good. Really just telling us that if we can go sideways for a little bit longer, we'll be in much better shape. And ultimately, we want this price to kind of taper off and relax a little bit. So again, as we saw previously, as long as the price, for example, here we see here, This is a previous resistance, now established as a support. If we see the same thing happen again, it would be something similar here, whereas the price shouldn't go any lower than $2.80. If the price breaks below 280, then you'd probably want to close your position. If it stays above 280, then we're good to go. We should be able to see a bounce off of that. Okay, because it happens quite often for the price to come up and right back down and to revamp itself, so to speak. So we are kind of seeing a potential cup and handle pattern here forming that could likely cause a nice strong breakout to the upside to break this resistance here at about 366. Okay, so again, looking pretty darn good there. Even though we're a bit on the exhausted side, I would expect a pullback, but maybe not. Again, a pullback is fine as long as it stays above 280. So one-day candlestick close today above 280 would be perfectly fine. Anything in that range. Preferably over 366, but again, we don't want to ask for too much in a short amount of time. This is a lot of growth, a lot of movement. We need it to calm down and relax. So it'd be perfectly fine if the price comes down to bounce off 280 or somewhere in the middle, somewhere in between, right? Again, a few different schools of thought, but to me, this is exuding some bullish qualities. As most coins are right now, of course, that's kind of par for the course, but Bitcoin does look like it wants to break through its resistance to 31,800. I think we're going to see that in the next 24 to 48 hours. That being said, this is primed and ready to go. So I'm not telling you to take a position right now. I'm letting you know if you have one, leave it open. Even if it were to come back down, obviously take some profits depending on your overall position size, etc. But 280, a close above 280 today would be perfectly fine. In fact, we want the price to kind of come closer to 280 so we can get a nice period of consolidation before the next increase. All right, and those are all things that, there's no guarantees on, right? So generally speaking, we got to be cautious and careful. So the best recommendation in this case right now, and that's what I'm doing with myself and my community, is just recommended if you use leverage, use the small position sizes. If you're using spot, obviously you work within your risk tolerance. But generally speaking, if you're using leverage, the more leverage you use, the smaller the amount should be. And I know it seems kind of counterintuitive because it's effectively the same thing. A 10x leverage at 10% is the same as 100% spot, right? But again, there's different things you need to kind of apply, and I think it's really important to make sure that you have a sound mind and body before you do that. And again, these are things I cover in my trading academy. So if you're not part of that, or if you are actually in the community and you haven't watched those yet, definitely do so, because we need to understand that if you're not in the right state of mind, you're not going to trade very effectively. And I exercise quite frequently, and I like to stay as healthy as I can and eat as well as I can too. And those are things that kind of go without saying. But if you're not going to be, you can't make sound decisions if you don't have a sound body. All right, anyways, I'm sorry. That's just a little thing that I like to kind of reiterate and make sure to confirm that you guys are on the same page with that. Anyways, that's pretty much all we have here for the moment. We'll take another look at Unfi again here soon. I'll try to cover this more frequently. I greatly appreciate you joining me here, of course, and learning as much as you can. The best way to become a better trader is to just apply what you learn and learn from your mistakes. Keep doing that over and over again. I assure you can get there. It's a very healthy lifestyle. It's not a terrible situation at all. This is very, very realistic. Anyways, thanks again for joining me. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. See you soon.